I want to talk about Clair Obscur Expedition 33's ending. Now, so expect spoilers ahead for the entire game, for the ending of the game, everything. And I really have a hard time sometimes just concentrating on one specific topic. I end up going on rants and talking about different things if I don't have notes. And I'm going to tell you right now, I don't have notes. I don't have anything at all. And I'm going to try really hard to just concentrate on one particular thing. And that's the exact ending or endings of the game. Up until that point, this game, the music, the writing, the boss battles, the exploration, all of the characters felt so good, felt so great. They felt amazing. It really wasn't overstated. How so many people said this was a masterpiece. This was the best game they've played in a long time. This was easily Game of the Year or a contender for Game of the Year. I agree with all of that. I mean, it is fantastic. The combat, if you're not used to this type of combat, which I wasn't, this is my first ever game with this combat. It can be difficult, it can be a learning curve, but it's also very fun once you get a hang of it. And I played on story mode, so I had to play it on easy, but battle still took me 35 minutes, 38 minutes. I still died. I still got frustrated. Like, I can only imagine how difficult it must have been for some of you guys that played it on hard. But my point is that this game was amazing and it gave me so many different feelings. But I loved all the characters a lot. One of my favorite characters, maybe my favorite character in the entire game, was Mael. And I mentioned this before, even before the ending. Like, I was halfway through the game and I was like, I really like Mael. I like her a lot. Like, her story is really good. The voice acting is fabulous. She has such a tragic tale. And then when we get to the very end of the game, you look at Verso. Verso is also a very well-written character, a great character with a good moral compass. Like, it seems that what he's trying to do is fix everyone's problem and just be left alone, have peace, you know? But in doing so, he sacrifices everyone, but he knows the cost of it, you know? There's a sadness to Verso, there's a sadness to Mael, there's a tragedy to Verso, there's a tragedy to Mael, there's a tragedy to the entire game. To quickly recap some of the things that I've gotten some understanding, the world of Clair Obscur Expedition 33 was all inside of a canvas. Out in the quote-unquote real world, there's what you call painters and writers. And the painters seem to have this ability to create a canvas and leave parts of their soul inside of that canvas and inhabit that world and be a part of that world. However, what happens to your body outside in the quote-unquote real world is that you kind of lose your mind. You kind of start like deteriorating a little bit, and the longer you stay inside of the canvas, the more likely it is that you, I guess, kind of lose your mind or die. And so in the real world, again, you have the Desandre family, who is Renoir, his wife, his older daughter, his son, and his youngest daughter, Alicia, who is Mael in the canvas. So Verso painted this canvas a long time ago before he died, and since there was a piece of his soul in there, their mother went inside the canvas and Renoir went inside the canvas to try to fight and get his wife out of that canvas. Then Alicia is woken up by her older sister, and you see Alicia is burned in the face, she's missing an eye, and she can't speak. Because when this fire happened, her brother Verso died saving her, but she was still harmed. When Alicia gets down to where the canvas is, her sister tells her that she needs to go inside the canvas and help her father get their mother out. But outside in this real world, Mael doesn't have anything. Like, she thinks that her life is over because of, you know, the scars that she has and, you know, being burnt and not being able to speak and not having an eye. And her older sister, to be quite frank, is a fucking bitch to her. I mean, when I was talking to her, she was very rude, condescending, making Mael feel like shit, and clearly didn't give a fuck about her. So Alicia goes inside of the canvas, becomes Mael. Her memories are kind of gone. So it's this whole crazy thing, right? I don't want to get too deep into it. But that's like the backstory of what you guys need to know or should know, or probably already know if you're watching this video. So when we get to the very end of the game, Verso goes inside this like secluded area. And I don't know exactly what this is, but it's like a painted area. And Verso sees a little boy painting on a canvas who doesn't have a face. It looks like that's supposed to be Verso when he was young or before he died. And Verso approaches the boy and asks him if he's tired of painting. And the boy says that he is. And Verso tells him that he doesn't need to paint anymore. But Mael comes in and she tells Verso to stop. That let's just go home, go back to the clear obscure world, the canvas, and talk about this. But here's where a problem is presented to you. Verso, who's been carrying this grief for a long time of everyone around him, got everyone out of the canvas, got his mom, his sister, his father, everyone's out of the canvas. Now he wants to get Mael out of the canvas, his youngest sister. And in doing so, he also wants to destroy the canvas so that little boy that's painting, which is himself, can finally rest and he doesn't need to keep on painting. Because it's like he's being tortured, like forever, just painting, always there, never being able to move. Verso wants to rest. He wants to be done with all of this, you know? But Mael wants to have a piece of her brother, wants to be close to him, wants to live a lifetime together, a lifetime that they were robbed of. She, in this world, has her other eye, isn't burned. She's able to speak. She's loved. She's with people that love her. And she can be with her brother. You know, a second chance at being together. Mael knows that if Verso removes the boy, basically, and destroys the canvas, everyone in the canvas is dead. The part of Verso's soul, all of the expeditioners, everyone that she met, that whole world just gets destroyed. Esquier, Monaco, everyone dies. And then she has to go back out to the quote-unquote real world where she feels like there's nothing there for her. There is a problem then, right? They have to fight. And you get to that point. And I didn't realize this, but you get to that point and then you're presented with an option. You get to decide the fate of the canvas. Do you fight as Mael to keep the canvas alive, bring everyone back, spend a lifetime there with your brother and everyone, at the expense of what? The little boy Verso painting forever? Or do you play as Verso? Fight Mael, destroy the canvas, destroy everyone and everything in there that you created originally, and get your sister out of there and send her to the real world so she learns how to grieve and process what happened in a healthy way and try to rebuild their family that has been destroyed and plagued for years because of this one incident. I am going to tell you right now, in my opinion, the way that I felt towards this story, I didn't feel that there was a good or bad ending. I feel that both endings, they're up to interpretation. And I think that both endings are sad, bittersweet, haunting, disturbing. They're not your typical, like when I played The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. I know what the good ending was. I wanted to be with Yen and I wanted Ciri to survive and I wanted Ciri to be a Witcher. I know that the bad ending has Ciri dying, Geralt staying alone, and basically killing himself fighting the 3 or 2 damn monsters that were left in that swamp. And I know what I would have felt. I would have felt fucking terrible if I gotten that bad ending. I felt so happy when I got the good ending. But I look at Clear Obscure Expedition 33 and I get that ending, and I'm not happy either way. I'm not happy either way. And I have not been able to stop thinking about this since yesterday. I finished the game yesterday as of the recording of this video, which is July 18th, 2025. I finished the game yesterday, and I went out to dinner with my wife. And I talked to her. I said, you know what? I don't know how I feel, love. I was like, I'm sitting here with you and I feel a little bit hollow, a little empty. Because this ending, I'm not saying it's bad by any means, but I feel sad. I feel sad either way. And I know that there's going to be somebody out there or a few people that might say, no, there's definitely a good ending. No, there's definitely a worse. The good ending is definitely Verso's because, if not, you're condemning this boy to eternal writing, this and that. And like, you're an idiot if you don't get that. But I don't believe that. I believe that this is too complex to just say good and bad ending. I think, like I mentioned, they're both just heartbreaking. All right. And I say this because sometimes, I like this character more. I like this character more. Or I understand this character more than I understand that one. But to be quite frank, I loved Gustav. I loved Lune. I loved Ciel. I loved Verso. I loved Mael. I loved Esque. I loved Monaco. You know what I'm saying? Like, I loved all of these characters. I chose Mael. I went with my gut feeling in that moment, and I chose Mael, and I played as Mael. And as I chose her, I didn't get any satisfaction from fighting Verso at all. Didn't like it, didn't want it. I wanted them to stop fighting and to try to talk and figure this out. And as I beat Verso, and I saw the ending, and I saw Verso crying, saying that he didn't want this life, he didn't want this life. And you could see Mael heartbroken, wanting her brother to understand, like, I just want you to understand that I want to be with you. And Verso was so sad, and you see the little boy in the back painting, knowing that he's going to be stuck there. Fucking awful, fucking brutal. I did not want to see that. You know what I'm saying? And then it fast forwards a little bit to the life that Mael now has, and you see everyone back. You see Ciel back with her husband and her kid. You see Lune. You see everyone gathering together in this like performance center where they're gonna play this piano. And you see in the distance coming in Gustav and his girl, Sophie, I believe her name was. And I smiled. I smiled when I saw Gustav there, and he sits down and he grabs Mael, and there's, for that brief second, I was like, wow, I thought that's beautiful. I'm glad I'm seeing Gustav there. It made me very happy. But Mael has this look on her face of, yes, she's happy, but there's something kind of wrong. And then you see who's giving the performance, and it's Verso. He's coming in and he's looking at his hands, almost reluctant, like he doesn't want to be there, like he doesn't want to play the piano. And as he starts trying to play the piano, it cuts to Mael, and you see the chroma, which is, you guys know what it is, I'm not even going to explain. It's overtaking Mael. So you see that Mael has been there for a long time, and Mael said that she wasn't going to let it make her go crazy or anything like that, but it's not whether you want to or not, it's that it happens. And Mael was clearly losing it in there, right? It gave me a grim feeling, heartbreak. I was just like, wow, honestly, really, wow, this is not good, you know? And then I'm like, did I make the wrong choice? And I thought that. I said, did I make the wrong choice? So I go and I look up the Verso ending, and it's just as tragic. It's just as tragic because Mael is forced to go back out to the quote-unquote real world. There's beauty in it because Verso is able to grab his younger self and take him away. The whole world is destroyed, and Ciel comes to Verso, and clearly they had a very good relationship, very close relationship. You could even sleep with Ciel as Verso. And she just looks at him and she disappears. And Lune looks at Verso with this anger in her eyes, like, you betrayed us, lied to us time and time again, and you condemn us to destruction forever. And there's this sadness in Verso's eyes seeing that. You know, seeing all of these people that he grew close to, that he trusted, that he, loved, disappearing and dying. He knows that this whole world is done for. But he finally gets to rest, and that little boy, the younger version of himself also gets to rest. But seeing Mael there cry and everything was also just as bad as seeing Verso cry. It fast forwards a little bit, and you see the Desandre family visiting Verso's grave. You see Renoir and his wife together hugging each other. Seems like they're mourning the loss of their son. Seems like they're doing good. They're reconciling. That's beautiful, right? And then you see the older sister, who was a bitch, laying down some flowers and leaving. And you know what you see Mael doing? She's standing there alone, not able to speak, burned, missing an eye, hugging an Esquier plushie or an Esquier toy. And she looks onward past the grave, and she sees Ciel, Lune, Gustav, Esquier, Monaco, all of them waving at her. And they're clearly just figments of her imagination. And she kind of cracks a little smile because she's yearning and she's happy to remember that they're there. But you tell me that Mael is doing better out there. You tell me that she is. Did Renoir and his wife, and I keep saying his wife because I cannot fucking remember the name right now, but did the parents go to Mael and grab her shoulder and said, come on, baby, let's go? Did they acknowledge that she was fucking there? Did the sister, who was rude as fuck to Mael and treated her like shit, did she go over to her little sister and grab her and take her with her? No, she just walked away. The family looks divided as ever. Besides the parents are teamed up, the sisters teamed up, and Mael is just sitting there alone with the little plushie in her hand, just probably day in and day out getting shitted on by the sister. Parents half acknowledging, half not. She still can't speak. She's probably looked as an outcast from everyone there, and she's probably just counting the days. It didn't make me feel any better. I truly don't believe there's a good and a bad ending. I truly just believe that there's heartbreak here. And I think the theme of the game was love, grief, loss, and letting go, right? And as Mael, you don't let go, and you live in a world of maybe what if. And as Verso, you do try to let go and you try to move on. But I think they're both sad. I wanted to really share this with you guys because I really wanted to like kind of clear my head from all of these thoughts. Because who else am I gonna speak with? Like my wife, but she doesn't want to hear all of this stuff. And I know you guys were wanted to know about my thoughts on the ending, and these are my thoughts. These are I'm heartbroken either way. And I explained some of this to my wife, and I've only mentioned this once, guys. I've only mentioned this once in a previous video, but me and my wife, well, my wife, she had finally gotten pregnant after 3 years of us trying. We were going to have a little girl, and she had a miscarriage, and I proposed a question like, to give you perspective, like, what if we had a canvas or something that we could paint? And in that canvas, love, we could go in there and we would have never had that miscarriage, and we would have been able to live with our baby and see her grow up and be with her and spend a life with her. Or we destroy that canvas where we know she would be alive, and we come out of it and we try to heal, grieve, and move on, and we try to let go. And she just kind of, like, we talked, we sat there in silence for a bit. And I tried to relate sometimes to real world issues or real world problems that plague some of us, because these video games are I think in that way you get to kind of put yourself in these people's shoes. And in our world, in our life, the one that we're living now, there's no escaping death. There's no escaping grief. We're all going to experience it. I've already experienced some of it here. Many of you guys have experienced that and worse. And it's going to keep on happening no matter what we do. There's nothing we can do to stop it. But if there was an option, if there was a choice, would you do it or would you not? And it's not a question of being right or wrong. I'm just asking, like, there's things that you have to factor into this, right? So I look at it from Mael's point of view, and it's devastating, and she's probably going insane. I mean, it's heartbreaking, but you look at it from Verso's point of view, and it's just as heartbreaking as well. Whether I chose Verso, whether I chose Mael, I would not have been happier either. I wouldn't have been any more happier, or I would have been just as sad. I would have been just the same. I did not want to fight Mael. I did not want to fight Verso. I did not want Mael to die. I did not want Verso to die. I did not want the canvas to go. I did not want that little boy to be painting for eternity. I don't want Mael out in that world that's cruel, that's dark, that nobody even cares for her. But I don't want her stuck in the canvas where maybe she loses her mind and she's not as happy as she would have been. Who knows, man? Like, there's so much to consider. There's so many factors there. What an ending. Truly, what a story and what an ending. And I think I have to sit on it for even longer. But up to the very end, like, this game, I was like, wow, this is awesome. I'm really liking this so much. But to force that choice on you at the end hurt me a lot, hurt my heart, hurt my soul. And it leaves you questioning things. And it's making it even harder for me to say, like, oh, I want to jump back into the game. Because knowing everything that I know, knowing how the world operates, knowing what's going on, I don't know if I even want to jump in the story again. It's just so heartbreaking. I don't think I can do that. This is just my thoughts on the ending of the game. This is what I thought. What a masterpiece. As of this year only, as of just now, this is game of the year for me. Can that change with a few titles coming out? Maybe, but as of now, it is a masterpiece. It is game of the year material. What a heart-wrenching story. What ending did you guys choose? I want to jump back in here briefly, guys. I was re-editing this whole thing, and I noticed that I got very emotional. Sometimes the emotions get the best of me. I just want to say that when I see this image here, it hurts my heart because I want Verso to succeed. I want him to get his ending. I want him to stop whatever he feels he needs to stop. He's an honorable man who wants to do the right thing. And he's an older brother who just wants to help his little sister. I'm an older brother. I'm the oldest brother. I have 2 young sisters. I can't even imagine being in the position that he's in. But this image here makes me really sad as well. I mean, seeing Mael like that, some people might say, well, the family actually is very close, and they might well be. But I think that the parents look like they're very close, and the sister seems like maybe she's in her own world doing her own things, and Mael just seems alone. Everyone left, and she was just there alone hugging the little SKA toy. I said that earlier, but again, I mean, that I'm sad for her. I'm sad that she's living that life that she clearly did not want. It's such a difficult thing and such a difficult choice. I don't know. I wanted to say that because I didn't want my over emotional self to miss that point. These both endings are really sad to me. These both endings don't make me feel the best. It's just a heartbreaking thing, and I really wanted that to be understood. And one final thing is, I kept saying the quote-unquote real world because in the canvas, the people living in the canvas, Gustav, the expeditioners, everyone in Lumiere, they don't know. Unless you told them, they wouldn't know that isn't the real world, that isn't life. They feel emotion, they cry, they feel pain, they die. It's almost like a creator and the creation, and it's just such an insane thing to, all of those people die. They have emotions too. You might know now that it's a canvas, but to them is the real thing. God, it's just so crazy, man. All right, I'm done with the ending because otherwise I'll never get to the bottom of it.